Julian Assange had an extradition hearing in the UK. This is whether or not he's going to be sent to the United States, and it was a disaster in many respects. Julian Assange has a stroke in Belmarsh prison. Fiancé blames extreme stress caused by U.S. extradition battle. Julian Assange had a stroke in Belmarsh prison, his fiancée Stella Morris revealed. WikiLeaks publisher 50 is being held on remand in the maximum security jail. It is believed the mini-stroke was triggered by the stress of the U.S. court action. Stroke happened at the time of high court appearance and video link in October. Julian Assange, they continue and say Julian Assange had a stroke. The WikiLeaks publisher, who's being held on remand in the maximum security jail while fighting extradition to America, was left with a drooping right eyelid, memory problems, and signs of neurological damage. So they go on to say that the doctor used the light to get the reaction when you put it in their eye and see what happens with the pupil, and he was just like non-responsive. There's a number of things to say about this. I mean, previously, the reason why the extradition was denied is because the UK court system said, hey, the US court system is notoriously barbaric, and given his condition, we absolutely cannot send him to the United States because we don't know about the care he's going to get, and perhaps he'll die rather quickly in a U.S. prison. Well, now that seems to have been proven correct in a very clear way, but the extradition was approved. So now he's going to be sent to the United States of America. That is not good. Listen, we've covered the stories. We know, as a matter of fact, that the CIA was plotting to kill him, to murder him. How can you have a situation where the dude had a stroke due to extreme stress about U.S. extradition, and the CIA is plotting to kill him, and now you say, well, it's okay, he can be sent to the U.S. I'm sure he'll get some fair treatment there. I mean, it's beyond absurd. Now, to give some more information on this, and I'm sure all of you know this, but if anybody's, new to this topic or new to this channel, I'll just brush them up on it. This case has absolutely nothing to do with the 2016 election and Hillary Clinton and the DNC emails and stuff like that. This case is all about Chelsea Manning giving Julian Assange classified top secret information. But the reason Chelsea Manning did that is to expose U.S. war crimes that were happening in the Middle East. And Chelsea looked at it, thought, I have a conscience. I can't look at a video of U.S. soldiers murdering journalists, circling around, murdering first responders, and laughing about it. And so she gave that video to Julian Assange. Julian Assange, published it on WikiLeaks. And then now the U.S. empire was embarrassed, and they were exposed. And as a direct result of a journalist doing journalism, a reporter doing reporting on an important story, well, now they're throwing the book at him, and they're trying to make an example of him. And make no mistake about it, with the charges that they're going to throw at Julian Assange, this would be the death of the First Amendment. It was the Obama administration that famously said, listen, we might even want to go after Julian Assange, but we can't go after Julian Assange because if we do that, we're also implicating the New York Times and the Washington Post and everybody who ended up running that story. So, he was the publisher. New York Times and Washington Post published it too. Should we take down New York Times and Washington Post because they published a story that's noteworthy? That's something that should be in the news? We can't do it. We can't set that precedent because that precedent is the destruction of journalism in America, and it's ushering in an era of outright tyranny when it comes to news and information. Well, now they're going to send him to the U.S., and Lord only knows what they're going to throw at him. Listen, we've discussed it before, but Edward Snowden, I remember talking to Glenn Greenwald in like 2013 or 2014, and one of the questions I asked him when I interviewed him was, listen, why wouldn't Edward Snowden come back home? We know why he did what he did. We know he's a whistleblower. We know his argument is, hey, the government, you have a protection from unreasonable search and seizure from the government, and the government is in no uncertain terms violating that. They are violating the Constitution. They are breaking the law. I'm exposing it. We know that that's his argument. Why can't he come back in court, make that argument, win, and then he's a hero? And Glenn Greenwald said to me, he's actually not allowed to make that argument in court. He's not allowed to make a public good defense because they're throwing the Espionage Act at him. So if you're not allowed to make that defense, what the hell is your defense going to be? There is no other defense other than the truth there. And so he can't come back and make that argument, so he knows he's not going to have a fair trial, so he can't come back to the U.S. Well, they might throw similar things at Julian Assange here. You're not allowed to say that you did this for the public good. You're not allowed to say you're a journalist. You're not allowed to say you're a reporter. You're not allowed to say it's the U.S. government that's violating the Constitution and breaking the law. So this is beyond criminal on the part of the U.S. government. And the thing that I always have trouble wrapping my mind around is like, do you guys think the rest of us don't have eyes? Do you guys think we're not capable of reading and understanding what's going on here and following the trail? Because Daniel Ellsberg himself, who leaked the Pentagon Papers, who's now a hero because he showed the war crimes we were committing in Vietnam, Daniel Ellsberg himself says Julian Assange is exactly like him. So how do you have a situation where one guy, in due time, is viewed as a hero, and now this guy who did the same thing, he's viewed as a pariah, and you're going to persecute him and prosecute him, and now he has a stroke as a direct result of the extreme stress brought about by the situation? No. This is totally unacceptable. And shame on the UK for being a little puppet vassal state to the US here. Apparently, behind the scenes, the U.S. gave reassurances to the U.K. He's going to be, we'll take good care of him, I'm sure. No, taking good care of him would be letting him go and giving him an apology and restitution. So now it's all collapsing down. Lord only knows what th're going to find him guilty of, whatever kind of show trial they'll put on. But this is absolutely devastating. And listen, we're going to get to another story on this, but for the media, they're not saying anything on this that's remotely sane. And they used to cry and whine and bitch and moan under the Trump administration that Trump is destroying journalism in America because he's a meanie to Jim Acosta. Well, now you actually have the destruction of journalism in America, and they have nothing to say about it except to cheer it on. So mainstream media in this country is just packed full of charlatans and conmen and frauds. And it's never been more clear than when their profession is directly under attack and they have nothing to say about it, against it. If anything, they're cheering it on. Because they're in the club. They're part of the club. They're comfy. They never rock the boat. Well, here you have somebody who's a journalist who did what a journalist should do, and he's getting the book thrown at him as a result of it. Free Julian Assange, free him now. Listen, Crystal Ball and Brianna Joy Gray and Katie Halper and Marianne Williamson did this live stream for Stephen Donziger the other night. I sent in a video to show some support, and it was the day after that live stream. Thankfully, we learned that Donziger's sentence was changed to, okay, go back to house arrest for the remaining 5 months or whatever it is. Now, he's already in house arrest for 800 days, and then he was sent to prison. Well, now it's good. It's a step in the right direction that he's back under house arrest as opposed to being in prison. Still set him free, but at least there was a little bit of movement in the right direction on that case. Well, this is just movement in the wrong direction, and it's absolutely devastating. And unfortunately, I have zero faith in the U.S. justice system that our right-wing courts are going to understand that the First Amendment is in danger here. Listen, honestly, I'll say it. This might be a controversial take, but I think if this case had gotten to the Supreme Court and Scalia was on the court, Scalia would have said, we have to let this guy go. Because Scalia, for all of his flaws, and he had many, he's generally a right-wing hack, but the one area where he was relatively consistent was free speech. This is a hardcore right-wing ideologue and partisan who said, listen, burning the American flag is absolutely free speech, and this is First Amendment protected, so what am I going to do? I mean, even if I want to ban it, I can't. So you have to allow it. Now I have zero faith in, forget the Supreme Court, but any other lower courts in this country that are packed full of right-wing ideologues. I doubt that they have the wherewithal and knowledge to understand that the precedent this sets destroys the First Amendment. So, by the way, the person who was involved in mucking up all the charges against Julian Assange is now a proven criminal and admitted liar. And he said, I made it all up. Whatever charges they were mucking up against him in the first place. And there's been, again, no talk about that in U.S. media at all. We needed to use like a Dutch outlet or some shit in order to report that to you guys. And this stuff just keeps getting worse and worse. Free Julian Assange, free him now. I'll keep you guys updated on the case, but this is not a good development. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.